Hello everybody, welcome to another video where I ramble about Overwatch and why stuff's cool and why it should be talked about more than what it is. So today I wanted to highlight GC Busan's Royal Road run through Apex Season 4. Now, for those of you who don't know, a Royal Road victory or tournament win comes from the Brood War era of esports in the mid to early 2000s. And it is basically defined by a rookie player in this scenario, because StarCraft is a 1v1 game. A rookie player that in their first tournament has this legendary good luck, as it were, or has this peak in skill that they make it to the final and that they win, right? And I wanted to really look at the history of the Royal Road and why it's really important to highlight and drive the narrative that a Royal Road victory is really, really important and really is not easy to do because of how tournament structures and lower leagues tend to work. It's incredibly difficult to be able to come up within your first season and then challenge those who have done very well in the past. So to kind of understand the history of the Royal Road, we have to go back to StarCraft Brood War, and we get names like Boxer, Nalra, I Love Uv, Moon, Jelizerg, Savior, Bisu, Jaedong, Rain, Life, StarCraft 2, my mistake. But just from those Brood War era names, you start to get a sense of what kind of player or what kind of team these start to fit in, what kind of echelon of skill and pedigree that these teams or players start to kind of mold into, right? Like their history then builds upon itself and compounds over and over and over. I mean, Boxer is widely regarded as being like the grandfather of esports. You know, he's been on multiple different Korean TV shows and widely considered one of the faces of Korean Brood War. I Love Uv, basically a Boxer's prodigy at the time. And correct me, all of the Brood War historians out there, but if I recall, I think I Love Uv was this very macro focused Terran player, and he was prodigy to Boxer, so it kind of improves on Boxer's legacy in that sense. Moon, I think he won his in Warcraft 3. Obviously, he was the Warcraft 3 legend. Basically, the fifth race, I believe, was his nickname, where he was so good that he was on a league of his own. He had his own race that he played, and he, I believe, or if my notes serve me, he won the 2003 MBC Sonokong Prime League Season 2. So he came up, it was his first major tournament, and he won the whole thing. And again, Moon, a huge name in Warcraft 3. Jelizerg, the same way, just a very aggressive player. Not so much on his end. I think his career was very dominant, if I remember correctly, but not to the degree of the others. I think he kind of stands out as an outlier here. Maybe him and Nalra. I think very, very, don't get me wrong, add a caveat to that, an asterisk. I think they're very, very good players. I respect them incredibly, but I don't think they necessarily match up to the rest of the list as we go through it. So after July, we have Savior and Bisu, kind of revolutionaries in their own degree. Obviously, one of them cheated and almost destroyed esports in Korea, so obviously maybe famous for the wrong reasons, or infamous, however you want to put that. Bisu kind of showing that Protoss players can play against Zerg, and really revolutionizing how that matchup worked, and really staked his claim in the history books and became legendary. Then we have Jaedong, the tyrant, the four kings and the take. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Forgive me for even attempting to. But he was within the kind of four kings of Brood War in the later half of its, surge as a tier 1 esport. You had Flash, Jaedong, Stork, and Bisu being the big four, and Jaedong kind of represented the Zerg race on the later half of the Brood War era, and then transitioned into a fairly successful StarCraft 2 career. So again, showing that these careers are built upon not really luck, but just overwhelming talent and overwhelming skill that is highlighted and is kind of interesting when you look at the history of the Royal Road. We can go on. I mean, the list continues. I think in StarCraft 2 Reign, I think he was the more defensive Protoss player, if I remember correctly. Life, again, I don't know what it is with Zerg players, but they just, I don't know, just it's sad because Life was, again, very similar to Savior. They're kind of a, at least Life was aggressive. I can't really speak on Savior's playstyle. But Life was very aggressive and very counterattacky and did really, really well and was considered one of the best StarCraft 2 players for the time that he dominated. Maru, again, I still believe that he's still playing. I mean, he started kind of similar to Flash, started very young, started at age 15, did very well. I believe he kind of trained under the Terrans of the Prime clan back in StarCraft 2 in the GSL. And that's where we kind of transition into the modern era of what people look at as esports, and the biggest team that kind of stands out to a lot of people is Team Cloud9 in the North American LCS. If you remember correctly, they came up as kind of the Quantic Gaming and then was re-signed as Cloud9, and their first tournament they smashed everybody, going 30-0, and with changed the meta. You had Meteos kind of dominating the jungle and showing that he had his own style of jungling, and the bot lane had their pocket pick of Ashe Zyra that kind of changed the way that bottom lane was played at the time. So again, look at where Cloud9 is now. The history and the legacy continues and builds upon itself and really matters a lot. And it's interesting, again, looking at the list and looking at the careers of each of these players. They're very big after their explosive victory in their Royal Road. Another player that stands out in StarCraft 2 is Zest. Incredibly skilled player, which leads us into Overwatch, which, forgive me if I missed anybody within the list. I am merely but a man. But we have Team GC Busan, and they, like everybody probably already knows, they came up through the Challenger Series, a kind of forgettable team, kind of middling, very average. I remember writing about them back a few months ago, it seems like. And they traded wins against LW Red, NC Foxes. Actually, if I have to kind of peel back the curtain, I actually thought that LW Red or NC Foxes probably would have been the better team out of the three. GC Busan came out middle of the season and 3-0'd Lunatic High twice, 4-0'd Kongdu, and did incredible things in the finals. I think that they have a long legacy ahead of them. And again, look at where they are now. They're in the Overwatch League alongside Kongdu Panthera. Actually, before I wreck myself, did they actually 4-0 Kongdu? Let me just double check, because can't be too safe these days. Yes, okay, so they did 4-0 Kongdu. Thank God. For whatever reason, I thought Kongdu was runaway. Don't know why that is. But again, GC Busan now joins the London Spitfires with Kongdu, the Kongdu Panthera lineup that they did beat, or the Cloud9 Kongdu team, as it were, and are now playing and representing London in the Overwatch League, and after week 1 doing incredibly well. So the Royal Road is less of a narrative element as it is like this interesting archetype almost within esports, that a team or a player that kind of comes up through the rungs and the kind of murky depths of the amateur scene and wins their very first event, usually, more often than not, is a career, or is a player or a team, their career is very, very colorful in terms of gold medals and silver medals, and it is very long and very, very lasting. So I think that it's a shame that GC Busan didn't get to kind of defend their title, as it were, in Apex, because I think that would have been a killer storyline to have a run back on, with Runaway being the bridesmaids. They never got a chance to really win a title. And yeah, GC Busan is very likely probably one of the better teams, as in with the London Spitfires, obviously. They're, again, one of the best teams in the world right now. London looks to be quite the powerhouse, along with Seoul and New York. So just remember them when you watch London, and remember that they kind of performed this crazy task. So again, basically that's all I wanted to say. If you want to follow any of my work, follow me on Twitter. I post lots of articles, lots of interviews. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to hear me ramble, or if you just like seeing my wonderful afro of a beard. And until next time, thanks for watching.